Moody's Investors Service has recently upgraded both the global scale ratings and the national scale ratings of the city of Johannesburg. CNBC Africa's Gugulethu Cele spoke to the executive mayor, Park Stow, about this achievement.
We're quite excited as the city of Johannesburg. We think that it's encouraging that the ratings agencies give us the vote of confidence and give the financial development plan that we've been working on a vote of confidence. You know, Moody's has historically taken a fairly conservative view around the aggressive capital investment program of the city of Joburg, and has been quite cautious. So to get a 4-notch upgrade from Moody's has been quite exciting because they have pretty much reaffirmed the fact that we're on the right track, that we not only are spending in an aggressive way in terms of raising capital going to the market, and raising a capital budget in excess of 10 billion now per annum, but that we're able to do this within a defined framework, and we've mastered the discipline of prudent financial management. And I think that the announcement yesterday came as a bit of a surprise if you get 4 notches up.
Really?
Considering that we're bucking the trend, so to say. So it's very encouraging, and we're quite excited as the city.
Paint it into perspective for us, especially for the benefit of the resident of the city of Johannesburg. What kind of impact does this have with regard to attractiveness for our bonds here, for foreign investors, and more importantly, what does it tell us about the financial standing of the city itself?
Well, you know, we finance our infrastructure through 3 different ways or means of raising our capital budget. The first, which is about 1/3 of the budget, is subsidies we get from national government. The second is a surplus that we generate from our own revenues, and the third is the ability to raise money in the bond markets. And Moody's has said that it's impressive that not only are you generating a surplus and investing it in infrastructure, but you're also able to raise money from the debt capital markets to finance the infrastructure. And when we had the State of the City address the other day, I made the point that not only are we the highest per capita investor of all of subnational government in the country on infrastructure,
sure,
but we're the least dependent on national government for transfers. So if you look at the percentage of our budget that comes from national transfers, it's the least. So of course the ratings agencies have taken a fairly conservative view about, but these guys are a bit too aggressive. But as I said, for us, it's been to demonstrate that it is within the context of a financial development plan and that we have the discipline of prudent financial management. What it means for us is that we're able to stretch the rent even further. We've got more investors that would be keen to invest in the Joburg instruments, and the investors would, of course, be giving us a better price. So we expect the spreads to narrow. And if you're able to narrow the spreads, it means you have more money at your disposal to increase your capital budget. So it means more money for infrastructure for the people of Joburg.
Yes. Let's talk about this infrastructure. Again, coming to the State of the City address not so long ago, it talks to the Wi-Fi facilities that we have in areas like Braamfontein and others. It talks to the clinics as well as the road works that we also see being developed. Paint a picture for us as to how it touches the lives of the residents of the city of Johannesburg.
Well, almost like it's a trend, we look at it in 3 ways. We invest in infrastructure to recapitalize aging infrastructure. So you'd look at the work that we're doing on the M1 and M2, recapitalizing the aging highway networks. We're recapitalizing some of our local roads. We're reinvesting in our traffic lights and signaling systems for greater reliability. So there's a lot of work being done recapitalizing aging infrastructure. The second part is about infrastructure to support a growing economy. So we're investing a lot in infrastructure in areas such as Sandton, areas such as Rosebank, supporting the growth of Waterfall and those sort of areas that are growth and development areas. So we have to have the infrastructure that supports these developments, including public transport investments in Sandton that would allow smoother mobility and a reduction in congestion and addressing those sort of issues for an important area like Sandton. And the third part of our capital investment program is about addressing the needs of those who don't have. those communities that do not have adequate access to infrastructure. We still have people that have inadequate water, sanitation, electricity. A lot of money goes towards housing developments for historically disadvantaged communities and for poorer communities so that they are able to get access to subsidized housing in the city. So we kind of balance our budgets in that way. But the first two are very important for the investors because the investors look at how do you invest your budget in a manner that would create future returns. So for as long as, if you think of it as a business, Joburg Incorporated, we need to make sure Sandton works so that we're able to generate more revenue from Sandton because you're increasing the property values in the area, you're increasing appetite for people to invest there, and therefore your rate space. So it's very important. They look at it from that point of view. Of course, we look at it also from a city functionality point of view, but it's about balancing those things and demonstrating that you're doing that. And in the first year, it doesn't always look as obvious as it would after a medium-term period where you're able to demonstrate that over a 3-4 year period, you've been able to recapitalize your infrastructure so you'd have less capital flight out of the area and people moving out of the area. You'd have more people coming in, and that means that you're able to protect your revenue streams as a municipality. But it's also about investing in infrastructure that enables us to achieve the efficiencies that we require in the State of the City address. We indicated, for example, that our investments in our water reticulation networks have created the ability to reduce unaccounted for water from 31% to now 24%, and we're still increasing our investments in those areas. We've saved over the past 3 years in excess of 3 billion kiloliters of water. So that's a significant investment. You're reaching the benefits of the investments that you're making as the city. And we're doing the same in electricity and other areas.
Johannesburg is positioning itself as the sporting destination of choice on the African continent. To address the issues faced by the sporting fraternity, the city hosted an indaba towards creating an enabling environment for people to participate in sport and promote social cohesion.
At the time we were imagining this department, the National Sport Plan was being crafted. There was sport indaba. We adopted the framework of the National Sport Plan. We presented it before the mayoral committee. What Dr. Fontaine is presenting here, it's a framework that we also adopted. We said there's nothing that we can do in isolation of national. We are not, an independent institution. We are a government, a sphere of government. But of course, we must be guided by what the national imperatives are, both the National Development Plan, but equally the National Sport Plan. And there were a number of discussions and indaba. And there were commitments that were made in these indabas, which is going to bring me to my next point, that this discussion today is not it's not a talk shop. It's not a beginning of a discussion, and it should not be a complaining session. It must be about what is our posture in terms of localizing this sport plan. Because we have not actually localized the National Sport Plan. We have just adopted as a mayoral committee. And we said it's going to be a guide, it's going to guide our work as a city, as government, as the sport movement in Johannesburg. And the reality is, it was not to be a case. One, we had our own difficulties as a municipality, as a department, because when we were crafting the structures of the department, sport did not align to the National Sport Plan. Very fundamental point. The sport directorate we have today, 95% of the officials that are working in the sport department are not adequately capacitated. We must tell Minister Mbalula that, Minister Mbalula, we are going to mirror what you are doing, Ministry, National Minister of Sport. We are going to mirror what you are doing at a national level as Johannesburg. This is a very important municipality. This is a very important region in the geopolitical landscape of the country and the continent. One of the priorities as part of the conversation of the next 5 years was about repositioning Joburg at the global arena. So we can do it through sport, because we're saying we've been priding ourselves as a sporting city, as a sporting destination of choice. If you take 2010 World Cup, where did it happen? Yes, it happened in the country, but the core of the World Cup was in Johannesburg. If you take the African Cup of Nations, the CAF, where did it happen? It happened in Johannesburg. If you look at the facilities, the world-class facilities that we have, the question of access in these facilities, where do we have? We need to tell the citizens of Johannesburg. In actual fact, I want to provoke you, because I know some of you are running facilities, you are actually owning the facilities. I want to provoke you and say, Dr. Fontaine, with the permission of this meeting, can I be allowed to say to the citizens of Johannesburg, we are declaring our facilities open for utilization and access by all citizens of Johannesburg.
Transformation is a key focus area in the city's sports agenda, with the MMC asking for a crackdown on institutions and individuals who are not progressing with transformation.
I want to implore you, let's minimize on the complaints. Let's focus on what the key question is, because transformation at this point in time is non-negotiable. It's non-negotiable. Now, it's either you shape up or you shape out. Even in your leadership structures, those of you who don't shape up, you must remove them. I'm not calling for a revolt. You do those things within your democratic means and you follow your constitutions and stuff. But if people are not focusing on the question of transformation, then you are not an ally of Johannesburg. We are not going to create an enabling environment for you.